So what I'll talk about next would be the transforms. Now the transforms are pretty different from what you find in Max. So in Blender, you've got your transforms on the tool panel, which is your move, shortcut G. You've got your rotate, which is R. You've got your scale, which is S. So in 3ds Max, you've got W, R, and S. So W is move, R is rotate, and S is scale. So in Blender, the same thing is G. So you got G for transform. So if I want to transform this object, so we're in the global workspace, global coordinate system, sorry. So select the item. Actually, I need to go to object mode. So I'm in object mode, and if I click the G key, the object starts to move, right? And it just kind of moves all over the place, right? I can move it anywhere. It's, you know, you don't see like a gizmo that you would see in 3ds Max. So now the way to work with this is to use constraints. So if I wanted to move this object in the x-axis, I would hit G and X. Now it's constrained to the x-axis. If I wanted to move it in the y, same thing, G, Y, it moves in the y-axis. You can see the line that appears. And if I wanted to move it in the z, I would hit G and Z, and moves in the Z, right, or the Z. It's the same with rotate. If I hit the R key, right, it's going to take it into rotate mode. Now this is, once again, you know, it's kind of rotating, you know, any which way. So what you sensibly want to do when you use these things is constrain. So you hit RX to rotate along the x-axis. You hit RY to rotate along the y-axis, and you hit RZ to rotate along the z-axis. And it's the same with scale. If I grab the scale, I've hit this gizmo here, and it scales in Z, in X, and in Y if I use the gizmo. Right, now this is the kind of funky thing in Blender, is that when you use the shortcuts, you don't get the gizmo. So if I hit S, it just gives me this kind of, you can see what I've got here. This is kind of like this black gizmo, which is scaling things. And if I wanted to scale, once again, if I want to scale along X, I'd hit X, and it scales it in the x-axis. If I hit Y, it scales it in the y-axis. If I hit Z, it scales in the z-axis. Okay, so there is one shortcut that you can use if you prefer to use the gizmo. Now my thinking would be, you know, with any software that you use, whether it's 3ds Max, Maya, Blender, is to work in the paradigm of the software. So we're used to doing things one way in Max, use that for a while, and then try to do it in the way that the software has been set up for that purpose, right? So to get to that menu, you hit the space bar, and it gives you the move tool, right, with the gizmo. Okay, if this makes your life easier, I mean, it does make my life easier at this stage because I'm not 100% familiar with the other system. Hit the space bar again, you get the rotate, and this time you get the gizmo. Right, which is super helpful in my opinion. And if I hit the space bar again and I hit scale, I get this gizmo on. This is a little less helpful because with Max you would have another box right here in the center that would allow you to move all three axes at the same time. I don't know how to do that with Blender, right? There isn't, like, if I hit this, you know, it doesn't really work. But if you use the keyboard shortcut, right, If you hit S, then you get that option, but the Gizmo will not do that. So I don't know what that's about, but that's something they can, if someone knows a way to get the Gizmo to transform all 3 axes, then please let me know. I'd be happy to know. So that covers the basic transforms.